Thank you.
Call Kevin Haig.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. I've spoken in the House on a number of occasions about some of the settings that this government has. One of its settings is to shrink the size of the state, to withdraw from functions that New Zealanders have traditionally collectivised and determined that as a society we will take care of each other through. So National has been pulling back those boundaries. Another of its settings has been where that is no longer possible. So where it's politically untenable to shrink the size of the state, where public opinion has mounted to the point where some kind of action is required, National has responded not with substantive action, but with gesture, a small step in the direction that is required. And it was interesting to hear the Minister speak about the compelling evidence of harm that tobacco is causing in this country. Indeed, Minister, it is causing that harm. But rather than responding with a comprehensive suite of measures, National is responding again with gesture, with small steps, taken as small and as slowly as the government can get away with. The Minister gave a list of countries that are moving on plain packaging. But I want to echo the Honourable Annette King and her comments to say, you know, New Zealand at one point was a leader on tobacco control, a leader on actually limiting the damage being caused by tobacco in our country. We have stepped back under this government from that role as a leader. We are now not even a fast follower, we are a slow follower. Mr Chair, the other speakers have rightly praised Tariana Turia, and I want to add to that list my praise for Helen Clark, for Annette King, for Hone Harawira, who have been leaders on tobacco control from this House. But I also want to extend to the Minister and the Chair, the Honourable Pesita Samlotuinga, the challenge and the encouragement to actually step forward to become a leader in this area too. We have, as a Parliament, as a government, we've all endorsed this fantastic goal of smoke-free Aotearoa by 2025. We are currently not on track for achieving that goal. And yet, when experts have recommended more aggressive excise tax increases, the government has responded with the least measure that it can. When experts have all endorsed the effectiveness of this standardised packaging bill in front of us today, we've actually had 2 years of delays. When in fact the government's reason for the delay, or the reason it's espoused for the delay, fear of investor-state dispute mechanisms, really has been proved to be nothing more than a paper tiger, as everyone was saying. All of the advocates for tobacco control were saying from the beginning. So, Mr Chair, the smoke-free Aotearoa goal is one that we should be pursuing, not with timid and isolated steps, but with comprehensive measures. I want to see this bill passed as quickly as it possibly can be, and I want to see the Minister in the chair actually step forward with other measures. How about some supply-side control? How about a register of retailers? How about all of those other measures that the Māori Affairs Select Committee recommended to this House? Mr Chair, the submissions that the Select Committee heard on this bill were all strongly in favour of the bill, with the exception, I have to say, of those from the tobacco industry itself and its proxies, those those individuals who appeared before the Select Committee with sponsorship, Mr Chair,
Kevin Haig.
with sponsorship from the tobacco industry, the tobacco industry that had supported their research. And Mr Chair, the evidence of effectiveness that the Select Committee heard was compelling. And on that basis, one would have hoped that the government could have moved faster. I want to say that the Green Party will certainly supports the change in the name of the bill. I'm very pleased to know that the government and all of the National Party members will be voting for the bill itself and for that change. I want to highlight our disagreement with the New Zealand First minority view in the Select Committee report. New Zealand First minority view says that New Zealand First believes that there are more effective measures. Well, you know, I'd like to know what those would be, because if there are measures that are more effective than this one that we know has great evidence of effectiveness, well, let's actually debate those. Let's debate them and pass them into law as quickly as we can. I mean, the truth is that New Zealand First generally has voted against tobacco control measures. My friend Barbara Stewart has several supplementary order papers in her name, and she's spoken in this debate about those. I have to say that I recognise the difficult situation that Barbara Stewart may be in relation to this debate, but I have to say that the Green Party will be opposing the supplementary order papers in her name. What those supplementary order papers do is to further delay the implementation of this bill. And as Ian Lee-Scalaway has said, you know, this is a bill that was introduced in December 2013. And our first reading was in February 2014. The industry has known this is coming. Barbara Stewart said in her contribution that there are members in the House who have not been small business owners. Well, I have been. I've owned and managed multiple small businesses and large businesses, for that matter. And I can say with confidence that small business owners are perfectly capable of interpreting the fact that a bill is before the House and that most of the parties in the House are saying that they want it to be implemented without further delay. You know, I agree with the contribution that Ian Lee-Scalaway made, that in fact there has been enough delay already. And I am reminded, Mr Chair, of the tactics, the strategy that the industry has used from the word go, from the Dolan Hill study back in the 1950s that first made the definitive connection between tobacco consumption and lung cancer. The industry has, from the word go, first of all attempted to deny the findings of the research, then to obfuscate, and that's what we saw in the evidence before the Select Committee, and finally to delay. Their sole motivation is profit maximisation and protection of their commercial position, and I do not believe that this House should facilitate that purpose. Enough delay already, Mr Chair. This bill should be passed forthwith.
Ria Bond.